Testing, testing, fine. Let's go. Okay, so I've just laid out a few bits just to show how to strip the wire with the proper wire cutters. Just put the wire in where you want it to cut, hold tight, squeeze trigger, not doggle. Nice cut, nice wire, actually better wire than what's on them, you know, but that's all I've got at hand. I've also made an executive decision on two items. One was getting into the bucket and pulling the wires out and then feeding back through the wire. I'm not going to do that. So I went in there and it's a mess, as you've seen. So the executive decision is I'm going to cut said wire off indicators, leave a wee bit, and just in case you want to put back on, about there, boom, done, bye bye indicator. Same on this side, leave a bit, about there, make sure it's manageable for you to be able to attach a wire on there. It's going to be difficult enough to get in there, but it is what it is, you know. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. So again, got these, got some heat shrink, got our wires, easy enough. If you're not soldering, heat gun. I'm going to strip these first to get them ready. So make sure you don't cut through the whole wire. I'm just wanting to get this sleeve off. Probably better with a Stanley. I don't have a, what do you call it, do you? I think so. Let's see, has this one got? Yeah, it's going to be two tall. I'll leave it out anyway. Do you know what I'm leaving it out? Right, Stanley. Where's my Stanley? Where are you, Stanley? There's a Stanley. Let's see, get the Stanley. Get the sleeve off. Very sharp Stanley, huh? There we go. So as you can see, you've got 3 wires in these. You see that okay? 3 wires. So you've got your negative, your ground, you've got your 12 volt, your power, and then you've this blue wire. So this blue wire is for if you want them to be on constant, like an extra sort of a light for the viragos. I used it before in the ones that I had before for when I changed them. I had them on white, and then as like a daytime running light, and then the blinker would kick in, then take off the white, and then blink. But I'm not going to use the blue wire. I'm going to use these two. So cut the wires ready. So let's extend these wires. We twist it in just to stop it from snagging on anything. And put it in, make sure it goes past that. The solder. Okay, same this one. And we go. Make sure it goes past that solder. Like that. And then heat gun. We'll heat it up first. So this is the noisy part. Speak up a bit. Get her heated up. She's hot. And that's her. That's her. That solder. That's what you can see. That solder sort of melted a bit. Okay. Now, I've been lucky because I've got an exposed wire at the bottom, so I didn't need to put my heat shrink on. Because I've got an exposed wire at the bottom, I can just feed it up through to where it needs to go. So, yeah, I'm just going to carry on doing this. Then I'm going to add the heat shrink. That gives that time to cool down, prevents the heat shrink. If you try and put the heat shrink on too quick, it'll stick to this because it's obviously heated and melted. So, yeah. So, same again, only this time with the black. Black wire in, past the solder, and I'll get a bit of light on this. There we go. So, past the solder. Give it a wee twist, not too, you don't want to tighten it too much, but you don't want it to catch in frames. It's quite difficult to get in there. And past the solder again. There we go. Both of them past the solder. Okay. Come you closer, heat gun. There we go. Let's go around to the other side. So bring the wires, bring the attachments down. Okay, now back over here, let's get the heat shrink. Heat shrink on over the top of the connection. There we go, without burning the bloody wires. That heat shrink again is terrible, this heat shrink's better. I've got this one here, but you can see it's all like round and hard, and I don't know. I bought it off good old faithful eBay, but then the other stuff is the good stuff. This is the good stuff. What do you see the difference in this stuff here? This is proper, although it's quite big. I don't have any smaller bits. I checked my wee bags, and everything's bloody bigger, I think, so. It's all too big. Because you get a mixture of it, and the mixture that you get, you tend to only use one particular size, and then you run out of that size, and you sort of, well, if anybody knows the size, let me know what size it is, because, or how do you go about buying the heat shrink in that size, because I always end up having to buy the wee multi-pack thing again, and you end up with a load of shit that you don't need. Excuse my French. See how much better that heat shrink is in comparison. There we go. Perfecto. And you know how to, and then the same is going to apply down here then. So we're just going to do the exact same process, only this time I'm going to put the heat shield on first under here, because once this is connected, the heat shield is going to go over, and then that's going to leave us room to bring the wires across over to here. Remember I was saying I was thinking about wrapping it around the back of the actual hand guard and round and stuff, but that obviously that's not going to work. It could work in theory on the side that you don't have your throttle cable, but on the side that you've got the throttle cable, unless you're putting it down into the handlebar, which is I think is probably the proper way of doing it. Wrap it round the back, follow the handguard round, and then into the handlebar and probably down. Sorry, but obviously that's not going to work in the throttle, because if I wrap it round here and not put it down in the handlebar and bring it across, it's going to interfere with it. So it is going to literally probably come over the top of the throttle cable like that, and over to here with the rest of the wiring and down. Leave it a wee bit slack. It's going to look messy and ugly, but I don't really care. That's what's going to be done. Okay, so next step is attached to the indicators. Right, so yeah, so you've got the gist of what's going on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the back now. So let me see, where is, I think this might be it here. So this is the rear blinkers, as the Americans like to call them, the blinkers. Let's see, get you a better view. Oh, my coffee, forgot about my coffee, hold on. Nice. Be a bit cold, but nice. So, blinkers, indicators, we call them, American call blinkers. Blinkers and your nuts and washers and whatnot. So, forget about that for a minute. Let's see, blinkers out. Okay, let me show the road. So the bullet connectors on these are not going to fit into the stock what do you call them, you know, the female. So this is the male, and then we've got the females. I don't have the females out, but anyway, they plug in to the female, but they're not going to fit. Actually, I'll show you the back of the bike. Right, as we go. Wiring. The wiring. Okay, so this is the wiring. So indicators: green, black for earth or ground. Sorry, negative and ground, and the red for the live. So if we put the bullet connector in, it's not connecting. See, it's very loose. So we need a bigger male to fit in nice and snug and tight. So you could maybe, I don't know, sort of add some kind of, you know, solder to this or metal to this or whatever to make it thicker, just sort of jams in there. So all you want is a connection. But I've got other ones here that I used on the last project that I know fit. Okay, so what we're going to do is the same kind of thing. We're going to take 4 of these bad boys. 4. We're going to chop these off. So give me the choppers. Try not to take off too much material. Otherwise you'll have to extend these bad boys as well. I'll probably just do the one, and then you'll know exactly what it is that I'm doing. Ribbit your road. Get your cutters, and you can tell on your cutters here, it gives you a nice wee handy you know, the gauge of wire, the wire stripper, gauge of wire. So I think we're probably 1.5 or 1, somewhere around there. So we'll get it in and through to, we'll try the 1.5 first. So I know it's not the 1.5 because there's no tension on it. So we'll go to the 1. And you snap her in place there. You bite down on the bad boy and you pull the wire to the other side. It's not, so let's take her down again to the 1.7. Give her a wee helping hand. That's the last one, isn't it? And then give her a pull. And you want to be careful because, again, as I said, these indicators and whatnot that you buy, the LED ones, the chances are, even though you're paying a wee bit more for it because it's coming from a reputable place, the chances are it's bloody Chinese made. But look at this. I like this. This is what I like to see. The copper wiring. I don't know what you can see or not, but yeah. So I bought these off Alchemy. They were in England, I think, somewhere. I've used them before, so I got an LED headlight off them, and it worked out great. And it was the same. It had the copper wiring. So yeah, once you find somebody who does the ones that you're wanting, try and stick to them. You know, try and keep wee note of their phone number or whatever, or however you get in touch with them. A wee bit of patience. There we go. That's that. And the reason why I didn't use the strippers was because on the end of these there was the wee, hard to see, but there was still a wee bit of heat shrink and whatnot attached. I didn't want to take away too much, so that's why it's a wee bit awkward and stuff. So now some people would say to solder these and then solder them in place. You don't necessarily need to, you should get a good connection. So the first, I don't know whether you can see this or not. So the first wee tang or tab or whatever you want to call it here wraps over the wire. The second one wraps over the copper. Okay, so let's get our munchy things, and we're going to put it over in a second, and we're going to munch it. Let's see, maybe get it started here. I'll try and hold it in place for me. Oh, that's no good there, look. Crunch that down. Bring it up one for the same in the middle. Crunch that down. And there we go. That's a nice wee connection on that. Then we can get the crappy, not the crappy heat shrink, but the small bits that you've got lying around to go over. Nice. And then we'll zap this bad boy down into place with the gun that I've left away over here. And there we have it. Job's a good one. You can be proud of that. Same again. I get started to hold it in place. If I had bigger nails, it would be maybe a bit easier. Crimpers. You're being a bitch. Come on. Get round. There we go. Crimp. Crimp. Do the job. Do the job. And let's see. Heat shrinkage. Heat shrinkage. Okay. Get rid of said rubbish. And then take this bad boy down to the connectors. Black for ground. There we go. Clicks into place nice. Okay. And red for power. Again. Clicks into place nice. There we go. These indicators are, this here's coming off. So this here bar I think is coming off. I've sort of got my mind made up, but it's coming off. It's only held on by an Allen head at the back here, but I think this was for to hold the fender in place, support for fender. But I'm using it at the minute just to hold up this sissy bar and put this, try and straighten this sissy bar up a wee bit, because I want to drill through the frame on the sissy bar to add an attachment for that. So I'm going to leave it in place. This is going to come off, and then this is where the indicators are going to be going in, and I'm going to utilise this hole for the indicators, and then that way I'm only drilling the one hole for, I'm not attaching anything else to the frame. Okay, so I'll go and get the other indicator done. Oh, forgot I touched that one. Okay people, we're back after, I don't know, a long bloody time. Jimmy rigged some bits and bobs up for to get these LED lights working. Remember I said you bought this, I think this came from a reputable company. Like, I'm not in the market for Chinesium parts, but so Jimmy rigged up a couple of bits. They attached to the load and the battery on the actual blinker itself. Wired up the plugs on the bike. So what I've basically done is I've went to the flasher relay. I've taken the flasher relay out of its casing, and I've dislodged the two wires right beside each other, brown and yellow on this bike, and brown and white. Normally it's just a solid brown and a brown and white. This is Canadian bike, so wired up slightly different. Anyhow, wired it up. Jimmy rigged it up to make sure it worked before it connect, and absolutely nothing at all from this absolute piece of trash that is probably more than likely from China and cost you probably, I don't know, I can't remember what it was. I think it was £5, £6, £7, something like that. Maybe even slightly less. But I reckon they know, and they deliberately do it. They're saying you just trash stuff because it's going to cost you the same amount of money to send it back to them, and you're not going to do it. So trash. Lucky enough, I had this from before. I can't remember the name of the company. Lead Perf or something like that. LEDPERF. Lead Perf. And I bought a couple of, as I said before, for the last bobber that I built. I bought a few resistors. I bought a couple of different LED relays, and the one that I used, the square one with the 2 pins, worked perfect. So obviously this got put away in the cupboard, didn't get used at all. So lucky enough, I've been digging through my stuff, found this. So as I said, I have taken the 2 wires out. So I've stuck a pin down in there to release the tabs, and I've just pulled the wire out with the appropriate tabs on it, and the tabs plug in to this connector. Now I'm going to obviously have to do bits and bobs to this connector here to make sure it's secured and there's going to be no touching of the wires or whatever. But going from completely nothing to, as I'm going to show you now, ignition on, and I'm going to put what's that, right indicator on. Blinky blinky. Left indicator on. Blinky blinky. No super hyper flashing or anything. And when we go to the dash, it doesn't stay on. These stay on sometimes. Look at this. We've got both sets of indicators working perfect. We will go to the front LEDs. Blinky blinky. And over to the other LED. So there we go. Blood, sweat and tears. Push in on the indicator and it releases everything as is. Perfect. And that should have been, I was hoping that was going to be the way it would have been from the start, but as I said before, this is what happens whenever, you know, you're messing with a bike and you're trying to, you know, and it's all about educating yourself. Forums, time is definitely, you know what I mean, that was today with these LED indicators. Let me see what time it is now. I did nip out the shop with my big lad, but it is now coming on to 3 o'clock. I've been out here since about 11:30 this morning, 11:30, 12 o'clock, something like that this morning. So yeah, and I did have a break in between, as I said. So it's still a good few hours, you know. It's still a good 3 hours to try, and especially when you come across something like that where you know, you have an issue. So now we've sorted that issue, as I said, I'm going to look into how I'm going to protect these now. Make sure they don't touch inside and whatnot. That's what you don't want happening, them touching inside. So I don't know whether that's going to be maybe heat shrink over the top, and then when I plug them in, heat shrink it in there, so it doesn't move, and then maybe tape this up to prevent them from pulling out or whatever. But these can now come off this, no problem. It's the exact same pins that's went in before. All you do is you bend the wee tabs, bend them back out again, plug them back into your relay, and that's the bike back to stock. So if you ever want to change it, most people don't want to change it because most people prefer the LEDs, and to be honest, you know, I prefer the LEDs as well. And so yeah, over the moon. Finally made it, finally got there. So that's the rear blinkers. Nice sweet billet aluminium coated. I don't know where it's paint or powder coated or whatever, but solid, heavy, you know, the same as the relay, proper relay, not Chinesium. Does what it's meant to do, no issues with it at all. And as well as that, then the handguards, again, Alchemy parts, and they're over in England. That's where I get most of the LED stuff. But there's a few bits and bobs out there, a few shops out there that does the LED stuff. So yeah, well chuffed, over the moon. Hopefully the LEDs on the handguards are going to look a bit brighter when we're outside, and especially in the darker weather, because they look almost orange there instead, or, you know, sorry, like a red, a blood red, rather than bright orange, you know. So, but it's the first time I've tried them. So yeah, another job ticked off the box. Tidy up the wiring, get it all wrapped up, taped up, and attached over to here, the handlebars, which is going to look really messy, but I don't care if it looks really messy. That's what it's about. It's about enjoying yourself as well as, you know, it's not just all about the aesthetics and, oh, look at that lovely bike driving down the road. You know, it's about what you like, and if it means having a load of wiring hanging, you know, I've seen worse. So yeah, next on the job to do list is I'm going to tidy up and get things put away here. But next on the to do list is, drum roll, that wasn't me farting, is the shocks. We're going to do the shocks next. That's next on the shocks and the rear fender. is next. It's not going to be, hopefully, too big of a job. As I said before, I'm going to utilise this rear fender here. This is the old one that I had before. So we're going to be utilising that. And we're going to be taking off the stock shocks, which are ancient. Don't know if they actually still function as the shoe or whatever. 1992 bike, so got nice new ones to put on. Hopefully they do the job. I'm going to drill in to the sissy bar, or sorry, into the rear subframe here of the bike. It's not even a subframe. So it's just the rear end of the bike there. I'm going to drill through. I'm going to bolt this up and then nice and tight. I've got some nice billet aluminium spacers for in between here. I just want to get more bolts there for it because these ones don't fit. I need to tighten it up, and she'll tighten up like, but yeah. So yeah, drill in it, take these off, get the indicators into these holes here. I mean, we could maybe even do one of those now just to show you, I suppose. Let's see. It's not a hard job. Get the Allens out. And nuts and bolts for the blinker. I know I say blinker and it's indicator war. Don't know why I say blinker, but don't know. I want to be American or something. So it's only a matter of, as he tries his best to crack this bad boy, it's only the matter of cracking this open. Come on now. Did I not have this? I'm not sure I had this cracked open the last time. There we go. Maybe I didn't. There we go. That's it. Drop. See it drop there. So take this out. I'm hoping this is going to fit. Now that I'm looking at the screw here, or the main fit. So that's, yeah. So it's just the one hole here. And hopefully, so if I get my indicator and let's unplug it like this, put the wiring through, hopefully. Okay, moment of truth, there we go, moment of truth. Doesn't fit. Okay, so we have a small issue with it not fitting there. You've seen it first here, folks. It doesn't fit. So maybe I'm gonna maybe have to drill into the sissy bar in here and fit them on the sissy bar then. Maybe up here, maybe. I think that might be a good place up there. I don't want to be boring these holes out any bigger than what they are, because obviously the whole premise is to try and keep it so we can put it back to stock if we want to put it back to stock. So excuse me. So there we go. I thought that was going to be an easy wee couple of minute job again, and it's not going to be again. As I said, you think that you're going to get away with doing something. I'll have this bike built in a week, you know, but I never. Okay, right, yeah, Right, that'll do us. Blinkers done. I want to tidy up, put away, and suspension and finding somewhere to put the blinkers on the sissy bar, drilling it out, boring it out, putting them in, tightening them up, buttoning them down. Job's a good one. And then after that it'll be so what have we got? We want to do the back end. So suspension, LED indicators, attaching them on the sissy bar, and LED rear tail light that again is also going to attach on the sissy bar, with also then I should write a list, shouldn't I? The rear fender. So rear fender attach, chop it up a wee bit, make it look I don't know, nicer. Drop the suspension down, put the new suspension on, LED indicators and LED tail light. So these 4 items for the next vid. Alrighty, see you then.